Hello, everybody, and welcome to Breaking Ponies. We're insert tagline here.
Yes. We'll start coming up with these
Yes,
soon,
we'll
I
we'll
think.
have one of it. Suggest one. Suggest one in the comments below.
Yeah, please leave suggestions for taglines we could use.
Yes,
And if it's really popular, it'll show up in the episode.
yes. Otherwise, we're just talking to each other for an hour a day. So, we have episode 13 of My Little Pony Friendship was Magic, Fall Weather Friends. Which I like this episode as kind of a standard competition episode that you kind of see in these shows.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts off with Applejack and Rainbow Dash pitching horseshoes, or as you say, pony shoes,
Oh,
which is the
they,
proper
they don't
term.
actually name them, do they? They just sort of throw them and
It's
then
horseshoes, so yeah.
yeah, they're
But
horseshoes.
if they
They're
really
proper
wanted to be
shoes.
funny, they should have been fishing like loafers or human shoes.
Yeah, but they don't know what a human is, so I don't know. That might have been weird.
Yeah.
I think that might have been sort of too meta. I think
Maybe they would. Maybe they considered doing that in the writing room, but they say no, that doesn't really work.
that's stupid. That doesn't make any sense.
So, of course, they're both very competitive about it,
Mm.
and so which leads to Rainbow Dash challenging Applejack to an Iron Pony competition, which is like an Iron Man competition, but ponies.
Obviously.
And throughout the competition, they seem pretty evenly matched until Rainbow Dash decides to cheat. And yes, she was cheating.
She was cheating. She started using her wings to her advantage.
It really comes to head when they go into the tug of war, which, oddly enough, you would think pulling against gravity would be to her disadvantage.
Yeah, well, the Pegasus flying. I'm not exactly sure how it works. It's like they flap their wings and gravity for them just instantly disappears. I think there
Yeah,
must be some sort of
yeah,
magic
because
involved.
normally they would have to have much larger wings to be able to fly that size. It's just kind of like an indication that they have that kind of magic, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. And they use it for sort of steering and stuff. But I think the wings are largely just for show more than anything else.
She kind of gets fed up and accuses her of cheating, which yeah, she was cheating, but in her mind she wasn't because she's just using her own abilities to
Yeah,
her
her
advantage, which
natural ability.
is some people could say it that way. It could be a matter of debate within the fandom, even. I don't know
Well,
if she was
it's a
actually
weird thing.
cheating.
It's like saying that, you're really good at something and, you decide to challenge someone in that something. And because you have an advantage, is that cheating just because you're naturally good at it? I guess it's debatable, but, technically it's using wings in a subject where you're not really supposed to use wings. So, yeah,
It's
I
just
guess
like
it's arguable.
Twilight in that previous episode using her magic when she wasn't supposed to use magic.
Yeah, true enough.
So obviously she wants to challenge her to a fair fight, which involves the challenging her to the running of the leaves, which again is another thing that doesn't happen unless they actually make an effort to do so.
Yeah, well, you should probably mention that the running of the leaves aids in them pulling the dead leaves
Yeah,
off
it
the
gets them
tree.
to pull all the dead leaves off of the trees, which doesn't naturally happen, I guess.
Yeah, again, it's the kind of thing that they have to fall to the ground, but by being pulled off the trees by the sort of the wind, presumably, that is created by the ponies running past. It's not really gone into too much detail, to be
Yeah,
perfectly
it's
honest.
just one of those things you just have to accept. That's how they get all of them to go off. Because you would think that it would be kind of like apple bucking, where they just kind of kick the trees and the leaves fall off, and they just do that for each one.
Yeah, they probably do in some places. Who knows? Maybe the running of the leaves is just a Ponyville thing.
Maybe, but again, it's a tradition, so they all just kind of sign up, which is very much like a marathon or a marathon. Um,
See, even you're making pony puns
but
now.
that's a very obvious pun. I'm surprised they didn't do that one.
Well, probably too obvious.
So yeah, they sign up like a marathon, even with the numbers on their chest to determine what number they were, or in this case on their flank, I guess.
Mm.
So they get into their big competition. Obviously, they're the first two in the lead, but
Uh-huh.
they are fighting so much that they just keep falling behind. They end up falling behind the rest of the pack. They're worried so much about beating each other that they just keep falling behind. And they end up, it was very much like wacky races where they keep kind of playing pranks on each other to try to screw each other up.
Yeah, it is a bit like that. There's nothing wrong with emulating wacky races, of course. Yeah, sort of always playing pranks on each other, like Rainbow Dash taking away the sign so Applejack goes off the course, and
Yeah, so yeah, she ends up in the cliffs, and oh yeah, I completely forgot about Picky and Spike doing
yes,
the commentary, which was
yes.
the best part of this episode.
Well, Pinky's usually the best part of any episode because she's so random and hyper, which is always good fun.
Which was no different in this episode. She
Yeah,
has these really weird tangents that somehow ended up working. They ended up going back to what they were talking about.
it's a bit like us, actually.
Yeah,
It's funny
it just
because
kind of works out that way.
I said that while we were watching the episode that Pinkie Pie's in the balloon by herself, and then Spike hops in, and I just said it's always funny that funny commentary is better with two people.
Yeah, because it's hard to make comments on your own because you don't have anybody to bounce the ideas off of. And
Yes, and
but you
that's
could tell Spike is like, oh, what the hell is she talking
what's she
about?
going on about. I think most ponies are like that
But they just
around
kind
her
of accept
anyway.
it.
It's
She's
Pinkie,
random, but she's likable enough that you give it a pass.
pretty much.
So near the end, they are so busy fighting that they end up getting fifth place, or not even fifth place. They get
Now
last place.
they tie for last.
They tie for last, which ends up with them in a tornado of all things.
Yeah, well, Rainbow Dash flies past, spins Applejack round, and they get caught in a tornado, and then they have a big sort of scrap over the finish line. And you mentioned fifth place. It was Twilight.
Yeah, it was Twilight that ends up getting fifth
Who
place.
got fifth place.
It was her first time running in a competition, so
But she didn't even run, really.
no, she just kind of paced herself. It's like me when we had to do the mile at gym. Like, you don't give a shit. You just walk the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Which, in my opinion, is the right way to do things. I could walk for a mile. I couldn't run for a mile. So, yeah, in the end, they sort of realized that
Yeah, they were being childish about it. They were being silly, and it's not about the competition, especially in a case like this where it is just about the tradition and about having fun, which I guess is a
I did
lesson
kind of like how they didn't actually say that competition is bad,
right.
which is good because some people do say that, oh, you shouldn't be competitive at all,
But,
don't
yeah,
try.
It's stupid to not be competitive because if you're not competitive, it doesn't push you to do any better.
Yeah.
It doesn't push you to be better at something, even better than you were before. Even if you're just competing against yourself, some people would say that's a bad competition anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like this episode mostly for the commentary because I mean I like Spike. He's probably my favorite character.
Well, he's like one of the few guys you actually see in this show.
Yes.
The rest of the time it's all girls. So,
in the next
you could
episode,
argue
you
Rainbow
get
Dash.
introduced to another one.
Well, actually, before we continue, do you remember a couple of episodes back, I was talking about how continuity gets a little weird in this season? Can I remind you that 2 episodes ago, they were clearing up winter to make way for spring.
And now they're already clearing up.
And 2 episodes
fall.
later, they're moving on autumn.
Well, was there a break in the episodes? Like
No.
they stopped mid-season or something?
Nope.
No?
No, I don't think they did with the first season. I think it aired straight through, I think. I can't remember, to be honest. It was some years ago. But yeah, they, as I said, so you go from one episode where they're clearing up winter to make way for spring, and then they have another episode, and then in the next episode of that, it's straight on to autumn. And I always got the feeling that perhaps these episodes were supposed to be the other way round. Like, they were supposed to do the autumn episode before the winter episode, or it could just be that they were thinking up random ideas and they just pot luck of the draw.
Yeah, because yeah, that is weird because it went.
I mean, there is a kind of flow to
So
these
they flew
episodes.
there was one episode that actually took place in summer, and then they're going straight into fall again.
As I said, I think either the episodes are out of order or they weren't really worried too much about continuity. I mean, as I said, there is a kind of flow to the episodes. Like, they introduce characters in some episodes and then use them in another, like the Cutie Mark Crusaders. And, obviously they come back
even getting into the
series.
next episode where they are again mentioning the Grand Galloping Gala, that again plays back into a previous episode.
Yeah, the third episode, the Ticketmaster. As I said, the Grand Galloping Gala is kind of the overarching thing of the season. It shows up in occasional episodes here and there, and then at the end of the series, we'll get the big payoff for it.
Yeah, but then supposedly since this takes place in fall, it happens like half a year to 9 months later since episode 3.
No, as I said, I don't think you should
the
read
continuity
too
is
much.
really weird. I mean, I didn't even notice that until you pointed it out. I probably wouldn't have even thought about it because I guess that's what they expected most people to do. They don't even think about it, really.
Well, it's one of those shows where the episodes are kind of individual. You could imagine that all of these episodes could be just like slices of life.
Yeah, they're just they're episodic, but they do kind of have this overarching thing. Because I mean, you could assume that they're talking about a different Grand Galloping Gala, and the one that they did actually go to was just off screen.
Well, you could say that, but I don't think it's the case because it doesn't really feel like that because when they go to the Grand Galloping Gala at the end of the season, it really does feel like this is the first time they've done it.
Right.
So again, it could be a continuity screw up, or it's more likely that they were just spitballing episode ideas and they just happen to come out in that order.
Possibly.
Which I think, in early production, I mean, as I said, the series wasn't really designed for continuity anyway. The fans really were picking it apart when it wasn't supposed to be. But yeah,
So I'm guessing this is another thing that the fans kind of mentioned.
Well, I'm assuming somebody must have mentioned the continuity between those two episodes, but it's something I've always noticed. It's just that, you have a winter episode followed by a fall episode. So unless the seasons happen like they do in Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Well, they aren't manual, so you never know.
Well, yeah, I know. But I think we can assume the seasons happen fairly similar to the way they happen in our world. But
maybe they happen
it
backwards.
was just something I thought would be funny to bring up. That's all. Yeah. So, anyway.
As we mentioned before, moving on to episode 14, Suited for Success. This is a Rarity-centric episode, which I was already groaning, because, yeah.
It's not that bad.
No, it wasn't that bad. I liked it, sort of.
Well, it was bright and colourful at the very least.
Well, you could say that about any of the shows.
Yeah,
but yeah, she is taking it upon herself to make dresses for the gala for all 6 of the members of their group.
Yeah, for all the main 6.
And she comes up with some fairly decent designs, which I think the costume designers working on the show must have had a lot of fun thinking how they were going to design these dresses. And again, this is a very girly episode, I guess, because they have to have a fashion show, which...
Well, yes. You can't blame them for getting a little girly now and then.
I mean, exactly. Target market. Target market and first season, so that's really pretty excusable, I guess. So, she designs her own dresses, which look decent enough, but the others 5 aren't big fans of them because they really don't know what they want. Anybody who wants to go into like an artistic field, I guess, should watch this episode because it dealing with clients who don't know what the hell they want.
Oh yeah, if you're going into anything with design, I mean, it doesn't even have to be clothes. It can be anything design related,
graphic design, art design, like
website design,
commissions for people,
things like that.
Even writing, even like
dealing with customers that don't know what they want and will
or
change
they think
their
they know what
mind.
they want, but it's not what's in the best interest for it.
Yeah,
but
or that
again,
they have an idea that's too hard to make or something like that.
Again, it's really kind of a gray area because one thing, this is what they want, but on the other hand, is it your job to give them what they want or what they think they want? And they really don't address that in the episode. It's just a matter of it's more kind of a lesson for the client side, is if somebody offers to do something for you, you shouldn't be overly critical.
Yeah, as they say, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Although they do actually say gift horse. They should have said gift pony, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if you can gift a pony in that world, but they do actually have horses in that world, I'm pretty sure. They show up in one episode somewhere. I think they were horses anyway. But it's a little confusing how all the species work.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a little confusing what the message was in the episode. Would you want to be...
I think the message of the episode was that if someone's offering to do something for you, especially if they're offering to do it for you for free, don't be overly critical.
Well, yes, but sometimes if you want something done and it needs to be done in a certain way...
I think this is the idea that, that they were simplifying it for like the simple message at the end of the show, whereas in reality things are a little more complicated than that.
Yeah, which might be kind of an irresponsible thing to do, actually. They
overly
simplify the thing.
It's first season. You can't expect them to get it right.
They can't be too. They can't be too picky about it. But that it just kind of bugged me about the episode. But they have their fashion show, and they find out that this fashion designer is actually coming there to look at Rarity's creations to possibly offer her to carry her dresses in his shop, and she's devastated by the fact that her
dresses have been destroyed by the
by committee,
the desires of the others.
Because I mean, they obviously love what they look like, but it's not until they're up on stage actually showing them off that they think maybe these are kind of stupid.
Yeah, it's like, they all had their ideas of what they wanted to see in their dress, but some of them, like Applejack, wanted galoshes for some reason, just because. And, Rainbow Dash wanted it 20% cooler, which is so friggin' that's the thing you got to watch out for. People
Yeah,
who,
when people say that, they don't know what they want. Yeah, Rainbow Dash is really the worst possible client you can get. She's like, I don't care, just make it cooler, about 20% cooler.
it's like, you're thinking, what does that mean? What the hell does 20% cooler
Maybe
even
we
mean?
should
And of course,
Rossify him by 10% or so.
take your word for it. So yeah, that's the one that probably would annoy most people, I think. And
And
then
I
you've got
understand that that phrase is kind of taken off online.
yeah, 20% cooler is the thing, definitely in pony fandom. Like Rarity saying it is on in the previous episode.
Right.
Yeah, little lines like that often pop up over and over again.
They kind of apologize to her and they let her redo all the dresses and they hold another fashion show and the designer's like, "Oh, that's wonderful. I need 12 of them each."
Tomorrow. No,
Well,
he says next
tomorrow,
week,
like
doesn't he?
Friday, but of course you don't know what day that takes place on, so
Yeah, but Rarity looks a little nervous.
yes, and that's how the episode ends, which is like it's just kind of like, oh dear. Wah,
Uh,
wah.
wah, wah, wah. I can do sound effects.
Uh, I'll
So
take your word.
yeah, I mean, generally, I think suited for Let me say
Suited
that
for
again.
success.
Suited for success. Sorry, that's quite a lot of S's in there. You'll definitely have to edit that out. Is probably the weaker of the two episodes, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean, it has a lot of song
it was a
padding in
very
it.
music centric episode too.
Yeah, it's got a lot of song padding in it because sometimes you think this, usually they use songs to pad out an episode that's maybe running a little short, and they use like 3 songs, I think, in that, which is the
There's
same
like
song.
there's kind of like 3 variants of the same song. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. I mean, I don't mind that song. I mean, suited for Art of the Dress, even, which is the name of the song, is it's an okay song. I mean, you can listen to it without feeling bad about listening to it.
yeah,
It's not a terrible
it's
song.
okay. So it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like you're waiting for it to end because
Nah,
it is also advancing the storyline. It's actually like giving these lines from the different characters to explain what they're trying to do, which is a good way to integrate music into the story.
yeah. So yeah, I think both episodes work quite well. I think the first one is probably the better of the two.
Yeah, I think that one. I like that one better, mostly because of Pinky and Spike. But of course, I like Rainbow Dash and Applejack more than Rarity. But
Well, yeah, I think Rarity is kind of the least likable of all the ponies because she's just glam. Which I guess it depends on the kind of person you are, but I think it's the kind
well,
of person.
did they hold like a poll? Like, who's the most popular? I'm sure they've held that poll dozens of times.
Oh, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times.
Well, who consistently comes out ahead? Pinky.
I've never really looked into it in great detail, but I would. I think the pony that most fans who watch it identify with is probably Twilight, because if you imagine that a lot of people watch this are like, well, us,
Right.
sitting on the internet and
Very
gaming a lot,
bookwormish.
bookwormish, insular, maybe not going out so much. But at least that's in the brony fandom anyway. I don't know about the non-brony fandom.
Don't you lump me in with you?
Whoops, too late. You already are. You will join us. You will join us.
Eh.
Yeah, one way or another. We'll get everybody in the end.
Gooble
It is
gobble.
inevitable.
Gooble gobble.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
So yes, let's move on to a show that doesn't have as much music in it.
No, it doesn't. It actually didn't have a musical segment in it this day because sometimes they do. They have a little segment where there's not much talking and there's music playing, and I
Yeah,
don't think
just
they
kind of
had
like
one
a
in
short
this episode.
montage.
Yeah, they do that sometimes in,
But no,
in
this
regular
was the season finale of episode 1.
season 1.
Oh yeah, season 1. Right.
Get it right. Yeah, it's the episode 7 of season 1, which is the last episode. It was just a short thing for a season.
Yeah, I guess they just weren't sure whether it would take off, so they kind of scheduled just 7 episodes, but it did do very well, so they actually had to change it.
Yeah, which is understandable. I mean, I'm definitely enjoying my time with Walter and his eclectic group that surrounds him.
That's one way of putting it.
Okay, so the episode starts sort of cold open, a sort of a PTA meeting. Is it PTA? Parent Teacher
Yeah,
Association?
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, they're having a PTA meeting about the theft of the equipment and the janitor getting arrested in the previous episode. And of course, Walter's there, and he's sort of feeling a little better, a little upbeat because the chemo. Well, they actually see the doctor later in the episode, and he says, "Well, it might not mean the chemo's working; it just means we've got a good ratio going," which Yeah, way to kill the mood. You know, I mean, they're both feeling really good
Well,
about
but he's
it.
not trying to blow smoke up their ass. He's not
Uh,
saying that. Well, also, it's probably a fact that Walter feels really good about what he's been doing to make money.
mm,
That's why he feels so good, is because his meth empire is starting to take off.
yeah, they're really going places. That's what the cold opening, which just starts simply with that. Meanwhile, Walt's still meeting up with Jessie, who's recovering after being, well, basically having the shit kicked out of him in the previous episode, but is ultimately angry at Walt for making a deal with Tuco that might be a little more than they can supply.
Hey, you didn't call him Toucan this time.
Yeah, I specifically wrote it down because I get the feeling we're going to be dealing with this guy quite a bit. So they meet with Tuco in probably the most conspicuous place you can meet somebody.
Yeah, well,
Um,
no, Jesse puts it pretty well. He's like, this is like a non-criminal's idea of where a drug deal goes down.
yeah, which is a
A
a
scrapyard.
scrapyard. Which, yeah, he's quite right. It's like, most criminals don't use such, quote, inconspicuous places to meet up, I would imagine. So, yeah, they meet up with Tuco and they strike a rather large order deal with him. I mean, Tuco's clearly still very much a psychopath at this point. But Walter essentially promises to deliver, was it 4 pounds of meth? We don't use pounds in this country. We use
Oh,
kilograms.
you pounds a different way, but it's a lot of meth. It's
Yeah,
like eight
it's
times
a
what he
pretty
gave them that
big
day.
bag. Yeah. Tuco's initially a little worried about it, obviously, because Walter is surprisingly forceful, considering Tuco is nuts. I mean, completely off his head nuts. Walter is surprisingly forceful about it.
Well, maybe he sees through Tuco. Maybe he sees that it's an act.
Yeah, probably. So,
Maybe
yeah,
it's not an
anyway.
act.
So anyway, Walter gets a load of money, and he gets Jesse to make all this equipment because Jesse has these contacts, which he calls Smurfs. I don't think he even explains why they're called Smurfs, but
I'm sure it's just a term.
it's probably just a word they use. But
Because they can't you can't really call them people that buy controlled substances for use in.
Yeah,
It's way
exactly.
too long.
The idea being that he has these groups of people who do shopping for him, who go to a shop and buy a small amount of something, but they do it in lots of different shops in order to gain large quantities of the stuff used to make meth. And Walter basically says that they won't need to use the Smurfs because he knows a different way to do it, but it requires a lot of other equipment and chemicals, and so he sends Jesse out to go and get them. While that's going on, they have a baby shower for Skylar. I don't even know if we do baby showers in this country. I think it's definitely an American thing.
Probably. I've never been to one, so
Neither have I, as far as I know, anyway. But of course, so obviously she gets a whole lot of gifts, which are technically for the baby, including even when it came out, I thought, Christ Almighty, that is an odd thing to buy for a baby. It was essentially a tiny wee tiara, which was apparently white gold or something like that.
and of course, this is at the time when she's still operating under the assumption that her name is going to be Esmeralda.
Oh God, yeah, Esmeralda. Yeah, this family really doesn't like naming their kids good things, do they? Walter Jr., which I'm still pissed at, and Esmeralda.
Which it wasn't.
No, they've
Skylar's
changed their
basically, no,
mind.
we're not going to call her that. We're going to call her Holly.
Holly's a better name. I will say Holly is a much better name.
Esmeralda
Um,
it's Spanish for emerald, which again is still a pretty pretentious name.
yeah, the baby shower goes quite well, but not Skylar, sorry, Marie buys this tiara, and I do bring it up quite intentionally because it is a big part of the episode. Because Skylar decides that doesn't really want the baby having something like this,
Yeah,
so understandably. So I mean, aside from anything else, it's a freaking choking hazard.
yeah.
One of those little gems comes off of it. That's not going to be very good. So Skylar decides she's going to take it back to the store and try to get the money back. While she's trying to do that, Walter has again lied to her, saying that he's going to go up to was it up somewhere or down somewhere? I can't even remember.
um,
I think he said New Mexico, didn't he? Was it New Mexico? Anyway, he's going to this sort of
well, it's already
retreat.
in New Mexico, so they'd probably just out to an Indian reservation.
Yeah, something like that. To a place known as a sweat lodge, which is apparently very good for people who have lung problems. Of course, he's lying through his teeth. He doesn't really go there. He's off to cook meth with Jessie. But
I just love how nonchalant you play puts that in.
well, he was rather nonchalant about it, frankly, wasn't he? He just says, "Oh yeah, I'm going to this sweat lodge," and he's clearly gotten so used to lying to her now about this that he doesn't really think twice about it either. So he goes to Jessie. Jessie was able to get almost all of the equipment aside from one thing, the methylamine, something
Yeah,
like that. It was
methylamine.
called methylamine, which is an important ingredient, but Jessie couldn't get it because it's a heavily controlled substance. So they decide that rather than spending 10 grand getting these thieves to break into this warehouse to get it, they're going to do it themselves.
Which, yeah, that's a good
Which,
way to cut out the middleman.
yeah, cut out the middleman, save yourself a bit of money. So Walter makes some thermite, which the
He
second
gets thermite out of an etch-a-sketch. It's like, what?
yeah, he gets these extra sketches, collects them up, and he makes thermite with it. It's like, okay, this guy's knowledge is just friggin' dangerous. All high school chemistry teachers should be locked up if they know this stuff. Okay,
I've
I know it's
actually heard that was kind of not really locking him up, but people would like always be asking their high school chemistry teacher, "Hey, do you know how to make meth?"
well, yeah, it's kind of implied that he was a scientist before he became a high school chemistry teacher. So I suppose his knowledge is probably a little
A little
more
higher than
advanced
normal.
than your average high school chemistry teacher. But yeah, so he makes thermite, which even I know what thermite is because it shows up in sort of various video games I play. So I know it's pretty good at dissolving metal essentially. And anyway, they managed to break into the compound and successfully use the thermite to break down the door. And they stopped the security guard by trapping him in the toilet, which is different. I'll
Yeah.
be honest, but it's really funny because there's no jugs in the area for them to carry the methylamine, so they have to lug this barrel out.
They,
As I
they
say,
were they were planning on just stealing like a gallon or a couple gallons of it, but no, they steal like a 50-gallon barrel.
yeah, which is just hilarious because they're sort of very slowly sort of shuffling their way with this barrel. I say, why don't you just put it on the floor and roll it? I mean, they do that later in the episode, so why didn't they do it then? But anyway,
Maybe it was too loud. I don't know.
yeah, maybe it's too loud or something. Or they could have stolen the security guard's cart and or maybe he had the keys with him. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, they managed to pull off very successfully. It barely goes without a hitch. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
Uh,
considering they've never done something like this before, it could have gone a lot worse.
it could have gone a hell of a lot worse. So they succeed, and then they set about making large quantities of meth over the course of the weekend. Obviously, they go to do it in the camper van, but the camper van's engine is decided it's going to break. Go figure. So they do it in the basement of Jesse's house,
Which obviously can't go wrong. Oh wait, it
which
goes
isn't going to
wrong.
go wrong. Oh yeah, it goes wrong. The house is being sold, and the estate agent has spontaneously decided that today is an open day, which is obviously it's a problem, but it ultimately ends well, and they get the meth, and that's all good. While that's going on, so many subplots.
Yeah,
Um,
this episode actually moved pretty quickly. It had a lot of stuff
yeah,
happening in it.
yeah, a lot of stuff actually happened. Although to be honest, you could say that about most of the episodes. Yeah, some of the episodes are slower than others, but you do still have quite a lot going on in the episode. I mean, they got to fill 45 minutes, so
Yeah.
they need stuff. So while that's going on, Skylar tries to take the tiara back and is promptly apprehended by security when she finds out that apparently it was stolen and that Marie is actually a kleptomaniac, or presumably she's a kleptomaniac. Of course, she manages to get away with some very good acting, I'll be honest. She threatens to go to the news
Yeah, she
and
just go to news, and she claims to be going into labor at the time, and she starts pantomiming that she's going into labor, and they let her go, and she's fine.
yeah, and she just walks out the store perfectly fine. Yeah, oh, yes, it was just false
It
labor. I'm
was
fine.
gas. Oh.
So Skylar confronts Marie about it, and Marie just flat out denies it. Although you can tell just by her expression, she knows what the hell's really going on.
Yeah, obviously she
So
knows what she's being confronted about, but she doesn't want to let on because Marie doesn't actually come out and accuse her in plain English.
you mean Skylar doesn't?
Yeah, Skylar doesn't come out and come and accuse her in plain English. You stole this tiara and I tried to return it.
Yeah. Because obviously Miri's surprised that Skylar tried to return it. So obviously she stole it, not
So yeah,
expecting
that's
to do
obviously
that.
what she tries to focus on. How dare you try to return my? You're changing the subject. You stole this damn TR.
No, I didn't. And so obviously that's a subplot that will show up eventually anyway. Which would have been weird actually if the series had actually ended there. That would have been a weird subplot to just show up for one episode.
Well, I would imagine. Well, it actually wasn't just showing up in that episode. You did see her start stealing things in previous episodes where she would like steal the shoes.
Did you?
Yeah,
I don't remember that. Did I mention it? I can't even remember.
you might have. You
I
might
probably
have forgot
mentioned it
that it
and
was
then
a
I probably
thing. But
forgot it was a
I
thing.
would imagine that by this point they realized that they were going to be continuing the season, so they kind of continue. They kind of changed some of the episodes because, as I said, it was originally written that Jesse would have been dead by the end of season one,
Right. Oh, fair enough.
which is probably why he ended up in the hospital instead of. He probably would have been killed in that encounter instead.
Ah, right. Well, yeah, okay. I guess that makes a certain kind of sense. But yeah, he doesn't die. He's fine. He recovers. So that's good because Jesse's fun.
Yeah, a lot of. I'm pretty sure that's why he survived because a lot of people like Jesse as a character. Even the writers really liked him.
Yeah, he's good fun. I did like the bit sort of halfway through the episode. I sort of skipped over the details, but Walter actually gives him a "This is the first day of the rest of your life" speech, which is just cringeworthy.
So
You know,
you don't say that, man.
people don't say that. That is the kind of thing you say in a TV show, like some sort of sitcom or friggin' My Little Pony. You know, that's the kind of show where you say something like that. You don't actually say that in a show that's supposed to be set in real life. You know, which I guess again it just shows how middle class Walter is.
Yeah,
Which
because
is
again, he's doing a lot of the stuff. Kind of, you would sort of assume this is kind of how he would learn these phrases just through TV or movies.
yeah,
So
yeah, but I
he
did
sets up a
laugh at
meeting in
that.
a junkyard because that's what they do.
Yeah, because you know that's how it works on TV, you know. And yeah, but again, it just brings into the fact that the show has a good sense of humor running behind it, which is always good. You know, a good sense of humor behind a show is always good, makes
Yeah, you
things
can't have
enjoyable.
just too much drama the whole time. You have to have a little bit of humor to it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's always good. Anyway, so the episode ends with Walter and Jesse again meeting at the same junkyard. I hope that becomes a thing. Walter wears this hat, which I don't know. When he's wearing the hat, I just think, did he steal that from Michael Jackson? It's
No,
just,
Michael Jackson's hat was like more of a trilby.
yeah, I know, but it just reminded me of that for some reason. But he wears this weird hat and these sunglasses. It's like, does this guy know how to actually be incognito? The best way to be incognito isn't to even try to be incognito. Surely to God. But anyway, that's something that's neither here nor there. So they meet up with Tuco, gives him this giant frigging bag of meth, which makes Tuco really frigging happy. Like really happy.
And but
So
now since they're using pure methylamine instead of like trying to distill it or make it out of the pseudoephedrine, it's blue now.
yeah, I mean, Tuco makes mention of that, but Walter says that it's just we use a slightly different chemical process, but it's just as pure. So Tuco tries some and agrees. So anyway, Walter and Jesse get a big ass fucking wad of cash. I mean, fucking massive. You know, it's like there must be like I don't know, 50, 75,000 in there or something like that. I can't remember. One of Tuco's, I don't really want to say friends. I want to say henchmen.
Yeah, henchman's a good word.
Henchman's a good word. He basically just makes an innocuous comment. You know, it's like, don't forget who you're working for. You know, don't forget that Tuco runs this operation. And Tuco just fucking snaps.
Yeah, because
Just
apparently
like,
he forgot that Tuco runs the operation.
yeah,
He
because
doesn't need anybody speaking for him.
yeah, exactly. So Tuco snaps and literally just kicks the crap out of this guy. It doesn't even kick the crap out of him. He literally beats the crap out of him with his fist, much to Walter and Jesse's horror. Just in case you didn't already think that Tuco was a psychopath, you know, let's finalize and put the nail in the coffin of
Yeah.
that one.
And he's all like happy that he's got blood all over his knuckles. Like, look at that, see that?
Yeah, so I'm certainly enjoying or looking forward to future episodes with Tuco because obviously they're going to be rather entertaining. Yeah, and the episode pretty much ends there. So it's a good way to end the series because you got the potential for the future. You know, you got the baby still coming. Obviously, Walter's still slowly dying. Got the business deal with Tuco, which I'm betting probably won't last that long because of just how much of a psychopath he actually is.
Right.
But I don't know, maybe it will. Maybe he'll survive all the way through the second season, but I don't think he will. You call it just random instinct from having watched too many TV shows over my life. But yeah, so a good way to end the first season. Very much looking forward to the second one. And so I guess we're going to see where it goes.
Yeah, I guess those are your final thoughts on it.
Yeah, final thoughts on the episode. Yeah, I can't think of too much else to say, other than the fact that I very much enjoyed the first season. Great show. I can definitely see why it took off as much as it did. Good story, good setup, good characters, good writing, and just generally a very, very good show.
So yeah, that will do it for this episode, and we
hmm
will continue next time with episode 8 and episodes 15 and 16.
Technically, episode season 2, episode 1 of Breaking Bad, and episode season. Oh, never mind.
Yeah,
They know what we're talking
yeah,
about.
we know what we're doing.
Do we? Oh, good. Well, I'm glad one of us
I'm
does.
glad one of us does. So, so yeah, everybody take care.
Bye bye.